afternoon. It is noon on Saturday, April 12th. This is an emergency city council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order to acknowledge that the press and public were duly notified of the meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Purpose of our meeting is discussion and an update from the law enforcement on incident on the beach on Friday, April 7th, 2023. Just a couple of quick comments before we'll turn it over to Chief for comments. You know, being here, I'm repeating a little bit of what I said at the press conference just a moment ago, but you know, way too many times an unprepared, untrained elected official sitting in front of the camera with not really knowing what to do in situations like this. And that's unfortunate for our country, for the folks that get injured. But watching our staff last night and the coordination of the Tri-County area was really something unbelievable. If you were around in the area, I don't know, Chief, 100 cars, a couple of hundred personnel from all over the Tri-County area. And I know there's a lot of supplication and a lot of social media news out there, and I would just say, let's get the facts on the table and deal with it before we start talking suggestions and changes and tweaks. I think when you hear from our chief, you'll be pleased with what's happened and the proactiveness that was there. Again, I was just very impressed with our public safety folks, our staff, as well as the coordination of the Tri-County area. The other thing I was really impressed with is our business community on the island. Unbelievable the way they stepped up and provided food for our folks all night and this morning still going on. Just really appreciative of the efforts of our local business community and residents too that continue to support our police and public safety folks in a great way. So Chief Cornett, I'll just turn it to you and let you give us an update, please.
Certainly. So yesterday morning, we were made aware of an incident, or made aware of a skip day that was going to take place on the beach. And as soon as we found out, excuse me, as soon as we found out that we were going to have that on our beach, we notified Charleston County Sheriff's Office, and they did send resources, even more resources than I initially thought that were out here. They were definitely out here. We had extra personnel. We were already planning, knowing that spring break was coming, so we already planned to bring extra police officers in from our agency, as well as the Sheriff's Office. Once we found out we had this, the Sheriff's Office sent even more than we had initially planned to do for spring break. We had officers on the beach, and they were dealing with two separate fights. They initially detained 3 individuals from one fight, and while they were doing that, a second fight took place. And while they were detaining an individual with that one, someone did start shooting into the crowd. We have 6 victims, and their ages are 16 and 15, and one that is in her 30s, mid-30s. We did detain 2 individuals that were coming off of the beach, and those 2 individuals were subsequently arrested. We have not been able to say that they were involved in the incident on the beach. We're still investigating their involvement, but we do know that they had firearms, and they were both arrested for having those firearms. One was a juvenile, 16 years old, who was arrested and charged with unlawful carry of a firearm and possession of a stolen firearm. The other one was an 18-year-old individual who was charged with unlawful carry of a firearm. Once the crowd actually started to get big, and so we called for additional resources to address it the same way that we normally would to push them off of the beach. And that's when the shooting took place, is just before those agencies started to arrive. And that would have been around 5:27-ish yesterday evening. And once they came off the beach, we started to secure the crime scene on the beach, and we closed the beach between Sea Cabins and County Park. And at the same time, we were moving the individuals out of our parking lots and off of the island. I do know that traffic was backed up on the connector trying to leave. Coming onto the island, traffic was backed up due to a collision on the opposite side, the Mount Pleasant side, involving Port City EMS. Make sure I cover all my notes here. We did recover 2 firearms, as I already mentioned, with the 2 individuals that we arrested. One thing I want to point out is when I started looking at our video last night from our officers' responses, I was amazed at their courage. They had individuals detained in handcuffs, and the moment the shooting started, they were putting people on the ground behind the same people they had handcuffed, were being put on the ground behind cover, and they were getting on top of them in an effort to keep them from being injured. As they were releasing them to turn to the bigger threat, which was the individual that was discharging, two of our officers, without hesitation, sprinted towards with a gunfire where it was taking place. Unfortunately, with the crowd being as big as it was, they were not able to identify who that shooter was. But as soon as that crowd was leaving and there was not a danger, they turned and immediately went to rendering aid to individuals who had been shot. Within 3 minutes, I would say roughly 3 minutes, they had 3 individuals that had been injured, loaded on the back of one of our Polaris vehicles, and transported out where fire was already waiting. They got there before we even had to call them. They were there, ready to render aid and to start helping these individuals. We had other individuals that self-transported to the hospital. That's how we have a total of 6. We transported 4 from the island. Is that correct, Chief?
Correct, 6.
6. And some of those, 1 is still in the hospital. All the others have been released. They were non-life-threatening injuries for all of them. I do want to say, when we initially had the incident, we called for assistance, and our assistance came from Charleston County Sheriff's Office, Charleston City Police Department, Mount Pleasant Police Department, Sullivan's Island Police Department, North Charleston Police Department, Berkeley County Sheriff's Office, Somerville Police Department, South Carolina Department of Natural Resources, South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, the FBI, ATF, Isle of Palms Fire Department, Mount Pleasant Fire Department, Charleston County EMS, Port City EMS, Charleston County Emergency Management Division, and Charleston County Dispatch all played a critical role in our response. We closed 14th Avenue and used the county park as a staging area for all responding law enforcement agencies so that we could assign them and direct them where they needed to be to address the incident. We do have a tip line. Emergency Management assisted us with getting that set up. That tip line that we've got out, if you want it, just so you have it, is 843-529-3750. And we're asking anybody with any information to call that tip line. We have it staffed with our personnel as well as personnel from our surrounding agencies are staffing those phone lines as well at the Emergency Management Division.
Chief Oliveris, anything to add?
No, sir. Chief Cornett covered it. I just want to reiterate, the partnership that we have with our neighboring communities and how crucial that was to the outcome of, what we had yesterday. So those relationships and partnerships are so important, as you all well know. And so we definitely leaned on those partners and leveraged that. And our firefighters did an amazing job, as Chief Cornett stated, working in conjunction with Charleston County EMS, Port City, and with the police department as they rendered aid first. So,
Thank you.
If I could, Mayor, just real quick, I wanted to point out, we are still investigating what took place. We have several investigators from the surrounding Tri-County area that are assisting in that, as well as SLED. I spoke with Chief Keel earlier this morning, and he has promised whatever resources we need, we will have, as well as the FBI has promised the same thing. So they have all sent personnel to assist us with the investigation, and that could be doing interviews or whatever else we need to do.
Thank you. Desiree, anything?
No, just want to reiterate the support that we receive from the automatic and mutual aid agreements that we have with neighboring communities. The outpour of support has been significant, and we saw it play out in an incident where we never hoped we had, but certainly saw it play out pretty beautifully.
So I'll just open it up for council questions. Rusty?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief Cornett partially answered my question anyway. You're talking about you have several investigators are looking into this from SLED and all different agencies. Who actually takes the lead? Who's leading that investigation now?
We are the lead investigating agency, and the FBI, SLED, and the other surrounding agencies are assisting us just because there's so many people that we need to interview, so many different pieces of evidence that we need to process. They're all going to assist us in it. It takes a lot of people to work on this.
Okay. And the other thing I want to say, Mayor, just very quickly at this point is, based on all the video I've seen, based on the press conference this morning, what I've heard, what I've seen, I want to personally thank all of our public safety and all the other agencies that helped you all and helped all of us on the island. This is a traumatic thing for all of us being on this island. We're not accustomed to things like this happening, but it appears to me, at the first glimpse, that it was really all hands on deck, and people rallied around making sure we protected as many residents, citizens, off-islanders as we could. And thank goodness none of our first responders got significantly injured in the process either. Thank you.
John? Oh,
Yeah, I was down there last night, and on my walk down, and while I was down there was certainly an IOP that was unrecognizable to me, and reminded me something more like the videos that I saw coming out of Miami Beach spring break and the chaos there. But I, not to repeat myself on what's already been said, but I was extremely impressed with the support we received from everywhere, from federal, as you stated, all through state agencies, local municipalities, and how well coordinated it was. So I commend you, Chief, for coordinating that effort, because it was a massive coordination of different things going on. At one point, the bridge was actually being barricaded or blocked by individuals, and the response to that, and just things popping up all over the place. As I was walking through the parking lots, there was still a lot of activity going on, where there was illegal guns and other arrests going on while after that was going on. So it was chaos. So I commend you. I commend the fire department. I commend all those that helped get us through last night. And I'm sure we'll have a debrief and rethink, as the emergency kind of gets through, on things that we could have done differently, and find a way that I didn't realize the bravery displayed by our police department, but I think we should find a way to recognize those at some point here going forward as well. So thanks again.
Yes, sir.
Jimmy?
Are you at liberty to say, if you know, do you think it's a shooter or plural?
We don't know right now. We're still trying to get all those interviews done. And right now you have conflicting stories. And so once we finish all those, we'll be able to put together a timeline and have a more accurate picture of what took place.
Anything else, Jimmy? Jan?
I'd like to thank you for the extraordinary job that y'all did last night. This could have been far worse than it was, and we are fortunate that we had no one with serious injuries, and certainly nothing beyond that happened. And with the size of the group that was on the beach, it's pretty impressive that that's all that happened. One more thing I'd like for you to just sort of elaborate on, Chief, as you mentioned the tip line. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what kind of tips you would like to have called in?
So with the tip line, anything you think you saw, whether you think it's small or you think it's huge, call. That little piece of information that you think might be irrelevant may be a crucial part to help us identify the individual involved. If you have video, Ring doorbell video, Nest videos, house security videos, we're asking that you contact us so that we can collect that, regardless of how small you think that video might be. Again, it may be the most critical component to helping us with this investigation. So anything you have, call us and share that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, anything? Kevin, I know Kevin's on the phone. Kevin, anything? Question?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, just kind of repeat that I'm glad that our fire and safety folks are safe. And Chiefs, just thank you for the excellent effort by you both and your team. I'm just glad everybody's safe.
Thanks, Kevin. Desiree, anything else?
No, clearly after situations like this, we'll need to have a time to discuss what additional resources and strategies we may need to implement in the future to avoid this from happening. It's certainly unacceptable. I do agree with the comment Councilmember Bogosian made. It was an unrecognizable IOP for me. And I noticed crowds of people that were undeterred, even with the significant presence of police on the island when we were trying to clear it out. We're going to have serious conversations about access and gatherings on the beach. We could have had a much different situation. Our officers were on the beach when the shooting happened. And I am so glad that none of them were injured. And we will take this very seriously. Absolutely. There will be hard decisions and hard conversations to have.
And Chief, I know we have our municipal lots are closed today. County Park lot is open at this point. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
I guess we'll do that foreseeable future at this point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And you know what? We'll take all the flack that comes with that. That's a good decision to make right now for that purpose. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Off record at 12:14. Thank you.
See you, Kevin.